Hey guys, Jake here from Bearded Gear, and I've got a full review to do for you. This is the Axial Gear Shift. It is a new US made automatic knife, double action out the front automatic that I just became aware of a couple months ago. I unboxed this a little over a week ago, and I've had it, carried it a good few times. I've done some cutting with it, and I feel like I've gotten a pretty good sense of what this knife is all about. So we're going to talk about it today. Yeah, the big talking points around this knife. Oh, also, I will link down below. I have an affiliate link with them, which is something I'm just kind of starting to do. I probably should have been doing affiliate links all along, but I'm doing it now. And they sent me this one to review, which I appreciate that I got this knife for free to check out. That's always very cool. I'd be lying if I said I didn't like that. But I also have an affiliate link with them and a 10% off coupon code. So if you want to check one of these out, you're interested in ordering one, if you use my code, it helps me out and you get a discount. So all things are cool there. But yeah, so they sent this to me, and the big talking point seems to be that this is a US made OTF that is coming in right at like the $200 mark. I'm pretty sure some of them might even be just under 200. So yeah, it's a seemingly really, really good deal on the surface, right? If you're getting an aluminum frame, 20 CV, double-edged OTF with a nice double action mechanism, and that's a big deal, right? Because you've got in the US as OTF kind of centered companies, there's Microtech, who's the behemoth, the elephant in the room, and they don't really offer much at the $200 range for a double action OTF. And then you've got Guardian Tactical, who's newer on the scene than Microtech is, and they make great knives. I've had a Recon 035, really enjoyed it. I've reviewed that knife, and they make very good knives as well, but I think they start more like 250 plus. I don't know, I got mine on the secondary, but I don't think they're coming in at like the $200 mark. And then there's companies like Hogue. Hogue makes some OTFs. I'm not super familiar actually with where theirs are priced, but they're built in the US as well. And then other than them, let's think, there's Hogue, Guardian Tactical, Microtech. I feel like there's one I was just thinking of that I meant to say. Benchmade. Benchmade makes OTFs, and theirs are, in my opinion, ridiculously expensive for the steels that they're putting them in and for the way that they feel. They're just not for me, I guess. But this being at $200 and being built in the US, I should say, if that's true. I haven't been to their factory. I don't know, but I assume it is. It says it all over their site and on their paperwork. We've got the American flag, if you can see that, milled in right here. I don't know. I did get somebody commenting on my video saying, like, I hope it's true that they are. And, like, yeah, I don't know that they've said where their factory is, but they do say it's made in the U.S., so I'm just assuming that that's true. I don't have a reason to disbelieve that it would be. So being a U.S.-built $200 OTF and 20 CV is kind of awesome, right? So then the question becomes, like, how good is it if it's only that much money and it has all those things going for it? And the answer, frankly, is pretty good, at least in my opinion. I have a couple of buddies who also have these, so I picked their brains a little bit about how they feel about theirs. Kevin from Left EDC, Chris from Grady's Gear. I think Kyle, DTM Knives and Gear, has at least borrowed one if he doesn't have one of his own. I know Tyler from EDC Gear Reviews got one. And they're a new company, and a lot of people are excited to check them out. I think there's good reason for that, for a lot of those points I already talked about. But the friends of mine who have them seem to also be saying positive things, so it seems to be pretty consistent across the board. And I think it's just pretty good. I wouldn't say that this is as nice as, like, my Microtech Troodon that I just recently let go of, or the Microtech Hera, which is the reason why I let go of the Troodon. They feel nicer to me in hand. But the Troodon was like $380 or something retail, and then the Hera is a little over $400 retail, and they're not using a superior blade steel. Maybe they're heat treating it better. I don't know. But they're also aluminum frames and fairly simple OTF construction. They also, just like this one, have some blade play, have a little bit of rattle. The only OTF that I have or have ever experienced that doesn't have those things is the Hawk Deadlock, which cost me $1,000 at table at a show, and I was lucky to even get one. So in the like production normal OTF world, this is pretty on par with the fit and finish that you get from the other OTFs that I've experienced. The blade grind, being a double-edged dagger ground blade, is fine. It's a little bit thicker behind the edge than I feel like it even needs to be, even saying it's a double-edged dagger ground blade. But so many OTFs, they're not caring about that type of blade geometry. It's a piercing blade, right? It's got a gnarly tip on it. The edge that came on it is all right. It's not the greatest factory edge I've ever felt, but it's okay. It cuts paper fairly well. I've opened some boxes and stuff with it. I did a little reel where I cut some plants with it out in the garden. So like the edge it's okay. It's fine. And in terms of piercing ability, it's really, really good. So yeah, I mean, it's like, it seems pretty on par with most of the like competitors that cost more than it does. So I'm impressed. I'm impressed that for $200 they're doing this. They're brand new. I don't know whether their prices will go up or come down or stay the same or what's going to happen. I know I've seen, like even in the paperwork for this one, like the warranty card, there was one that had like a Warney blade as an OTF that looked sick. I hope that's an upcoming model because I think it looks really, really cool. But yeah, I'm excited to see what happens here. One other thing before I start going over Ergo's carry cutting action, all that stuff. This happened to Kevin as well, Left EDC, I believe. We both asked for the black one in 20 CV, and I think at first they sent him one in S35, but he has one in 20 CV now. I got 20 CV, that's all fine and dandy, but both his first one, I think, and this one have a frame that's talked about as being black. Like, this is the black option, and it looks navy blue to me. And at first I was like, is it the lighting where I am? Am I crazy? But then I put it next to a black aluminum hard anodized knife, and this looks blue next to it. So it's a really, really dark blue, and that doesn't bother me. But that may be something to expect if you get one of these and you pick black. I've seen other ones that look true black, at least in photos. So I don't know what happened there, but it's like a really, really dark navy blue, if I'm being honest about the color of this knife, even though it was advertised as being black. Anyway, so let's talk Ergo's carry cutting action, all that stuff. Ergonomically, as out the front knives go, especially double action with the switch here, this knife is stupid comfortable. It's really, really super neutral. There's not a lot of shape happening here, which makes it just really comfortable to hold in any grip. I tend to use the switch as a thumb ramp on a double-edged OTF to make sure I'm not inadvertently kind of like pressing on what would be the spine. I want to make sure I'm all the way back here, and it works great. This switch is super nice as a thumb ramp. The handle's just comfortable. I like it a lot. In a reverse grip, it's somehow even more comfortable. I love this angle for my thumb back here, and the whole, like, everything about this knife is just great in a reverse grip. Obviously, hammer grip, saber grip, if I talk about draw cut on a double-edged knife, that doesn't really, like, everything is a draw cut because you've got an edge back here as well. So same thing with reverse grip. This is both forward and draw cut, I guess. Yeah, ergos are just really, really good. I like that all the corners are knocked down. I like that there's kind of like scalloping on the frame or chamfering. All the edges are really nice and kind of contoured, knocked down. Everything is smooth. The pocket clip doesn't bother me in hand. It's a very nice knife to hold on to. The hard anodizing has just a little bit of texture to it. It's still quite smooth, but it's just enough that I don't feel like this knife is overly slick. And the jimping on the button is a good kind of stop as well. So I like it. I think the ergos are great. Let's talk action because it's a double-edged, double action OTF. The only gripe I have with the action is the sound is a little bit tingy. Some OTFs are that way. Like I reviewed a Dirac Delta from Microtech quite a while ago, and that was even tingier than this. But it has a little bit. I'll put it next to the microphone. It's not crazy, and it's not every time, but there's just a little bit. You can hear the springs kind of reverberating in there. The nicer the OTF generally, the less I've heard of that. But that's not always the case, because I've had some high-end Microtechs that do ting a little bit. Supposedly, I'm sure it'll happen again in these comments, people tell you you can put some oil in there or whatever. I'm not going to take this apart or squirt things down in there because it functions fine. So it just kind of is what it is, in my opinion. I know some people say rem oil and compressed air or whatever it is. I don't want to worry about that, but I'm sure I could probably make it go away if I took enough time to do so. All right, so yeah, action, other than that little nitpick, it's great. Someone was asking me, how does it feel compared to a Microtech or a Guardian Tactical? I'll say this switch and its feel feels a little bit nicer than a Microtech switch typically does to me, and a little bit under the level of a Guardian Tactical switch, because Guardian Tactical uses like a polished surface on the track with bearings, and it just has an enhanced level of smoothness. But comparing this between those two, I'd put it kind of right in the middle, where it feels a little bit nicer, a little bit less sloppy than most Microtech switches that I've had, a little bit less grit as well, but it's not quite as smooth as a Guardian Tactical either. So I do like the way that it breaks as well. It's almost surprising when it happens. There's quite a bit of like take up mush, if you will, in this trigger, if you want to call it that. Then you do get to a wall, but it's a really kind of a hair trigger once you get to that wall. And sometimes it feels more on other knives, like you get to a heavy wall and there's a distinct click. This is just like I don't know, if you do it quickly, it doesn't even feel like you're pushing through a wall. It just feels like you're pushing the switch all the way up in kind of a nice way. Yeah, so action is great. As double action OTFs go, it fires out hard, it retracts hard. I haven't had any issues with it derailing. It's been very, very good. Let's talk carry. So this knife carries quite well. The only thing I would say I would personally change about it would be if the clip came all the way to the butt end of the knife, because that's my favorite thing, is knives that carry as deep as their own end. But this clip is super functional, it feels good in hand, it's got good retention, goes in and out of pocket well. The knife is nice and slim, it's aluminum, so it's light, and it just feels trim and kind of compact. Frankly, it's not a small handle. This is a pretty big knife to have in your pocket, but it carries slim and small and kind of tidy, and so I really like that. Carrying it front right pocket, having my wallet next to it, I've had no issues getting into my wallet, putting my wallet back in after paying for something. That's a thing that can be a hang up for me on certain knives. So the fact that it's comfortable front right pocket, it's convenient to have there, it's easy to get in and out, and yeah, it's good. I like carrying with it. I like carrying it. So we've talked ergos, action, and carry. That leaves us with cutting. Again, blade geometry. I harp on this every time seemingly that I review a double-edged dagger ground blade, which happens mostly on OTFs. It's not a knife designed for slicing. If someone tells you that this blade shape is designed for slicing, then they're ignorant, is the best way I can put it. There are other blade shapes that are designed for slicing, like nice tall flat grinds or a tall hollow grind that's thin behind the edge and has a profile that is designed to split material with ease, right? This is not designed to slice through things this way incredibly well. It has edges on both sides, so it can, in either direction. It will cut things that way, but it's not designed for slicing. This is designed for piercing, right? This point is the point of the knife. It's designed to stab into stuff, and it's incredibly efficient at that. That just happens to be a cutting task, if you can even call it that, a type of cutting that I don't do all that often, other than like if I'm processing cardboard for fun, to be a little delinquent for a minute, just stabbing things a bunch of times. Like, sure, that could be fun for a minute, but most cutting tasks, I don't need an insane tip other than to just like get a cut started and then follow through with a slice. So this is like a self-defense tactical blade shape, right? And with that said, again, it's a very ridiculously nice tip. The profile is great for that, but it's not going to be an incredible slicer, and I don't expect it to be. So in terms of cutting performance, as OTFs go, it's not the best, it's not the worst, it's fine. It's got a decent edge on it. The geometry is okay for slicing, and it will slice things. If this is the knife that you have in your pocket when you need to go process a bunch of cardboard, it's going to do fine. You're going to cut through the cardboard. Everything's going to work out. It just won't be the best tool possible for that job. So, there. So I think that's pretty much everything, right? Ergos are fantastic. It carries quite well. The action is fun. OTFs, to me, that's the biggest thing about them. It's supposed to be fun. There's no real like dynamic advantage over having having this over a manual folder in terms of like its structural integrity. If anything, most of the time it's kind of a disadvantage because you've got play and there's wiggle and you got to worry about the blade coming off track if you do this and there's something in front of it, and like all those things are things you need to consider. There is a lot of ease pulling it out of pocket. You just with one hand do your cut, boom, retract it, put it back in. I like that about it, but it's mostly for fun. And I think most people who own OTFs and are into OTFs can admit that they have one for fun. Some of them like it so much and have so much fun with it that they make it their EDC because it's what they enjoy, and that's fine too, but it's got to be fun, right? And this is fun. So I like the action. I like the carry. The cutting is fine. As OTFs go, it's fine. So yeah, it's a great knife. And at $200, I think it's a really good deal. I think compared to, like, if someone's asking me, should I get a Microtech Ultratech or this, and they're buying one new, and this is $200, and the Ultratech is, I don't know what they go for, $250, $270, $280, $300, whatever it is. I think I like this, frankly, specifically compared to the Ultratech, probably a little more. This is more comfortable in my hand. I like the way it carries. I like the way it's finished, the feel of it. I'd probably recommend this over even if they were the same exact price. But it is cheaper, and so that's worth something to a lot of people. The fact that this can be had for at or just under $200 is pretty great. So I like that. I think it's a good value, and it's not a knife that feels like it's cutting corners to get to that value. So I'm not sure how they're able to have a $200 solid offering, OTF built in the US, but I'm excited that they do. I think it's a great thing. So yeah, again, if you want to check one out, I will have the link down below. The affiliate link. It will help me if you use that link in particular. And yeah, pretty sweet. I'm glad I got to check it out. I wanted to knock out this review as well before I leave a couple of days from now, because I think I'm going to give this to one of my buddies who I'm about to visit up in Utah, who I know would have fun with this knife and would appreciate it. It will bring him joy. And I have a Hawk Deadlock Auto. And a Microtech Hera and other OTFs, and I don't need a crazy slew of them. But I've had a really good time checking this out. It's a knife that I could very easily keep and enjoy. I just won't carry it over the Deadlock. That's an unfair advantage, having a knife that costs 5 times as much and has no blade play and has better edge on it and like costs 5 times as much, right? So there's that. Anyway, thanks for checking it out, guys. We'll see you on the next one.